This year started out just like any other has in my adult life, with a phone call to my mother. As soon as I've done my toast, kissed my husband, and looked at the fireworks, I call my mom to wish her a Happy New Year. The next couple of days were a whirlwind, the obligatory day off, and then right back to work. I'm a theater professional and work for a small company with big plans and shows. I was heading to Mexico to work with a company down there, but before that, I had to get my mother settled into her new home. We had both decided that she could no longer live by herself, and due to her many medical needs, there was only one place in Vancouver that could take her. Firmly settled at Holy Family, I knew that she would be well taken care of, and my heart rested easier each day that we talked. So, off I flew to Mexico to get some work done and 48 hours of true me time, something that hadn't happened in a very long time. Once I got back, things were in full swing at the theater company. We had 2 international tours to arrange, a national tour, and a local show to produce, along with all the other rentals and shows that we had committed to. There's never a dull day in my job. Something always needs to be done. Then the news broke that a virus had made its way across the countries and oceans. I started reading a blog about how a young man and his wife were in quarantine in China, and I was amazed that this could bring a nation to a standstill. I kept watching as cities across the world stopped moving, and Mother Earth was able to breathe once again. And then it hit. An outbreak in a care home in North Vancouver. I held my breath, and I was grateful that she wasn't where I wanted her to be, close to me. We did window visits with my mom. They were hilarious. Some days were better than others. Some days I left with a massive hole in my heart, wondering if I'd ever get to hold her again, or more importantly, if she would ever hold me again. And then my world stopped. I'm one of those people who live to work. And of course, this being 2020, I also work to live, but mainly the latter. I don't remember what day it was exactly, but everything got canceled, all of it. The unwritten rule in theater is that the show must go on. Everyone's heard it, but unless you're really truly ensconced in the business, you really don't understand what that means. The show isn't just the performers on stage, it's the designers, the technical teams that hang the lights and run the sound, the wardrobe team that keep performers looking good, the stage managers who run the show, the marketing team, the administrative departments, the box office staff, and the ushers. Suddenly, we were all out of work. Gigs that we were excited for, gone. Money that we had anticipated seeing us through the next couple of days, weeks, and months, gone. I scrambled to get artists home, to try and cancel flights, which I'd only booked 6 weeks prior, and figure out the financial implications of what we had lost and what we could pay all of the artists and technicians that we had a moral commitment to. I then looked at my daughter, who was just starting March break, and realized that she wasn't going back to school anytime soon. Do we have enough supplies, food, the essentials? What on earth was I going to do with her schooling? We took lots of things for granted. We could just pop to the store for things if we needed. Now a trip to the store took 3 times as long. To be honest, I didn't go. My husband went. He stood in line and did the weekly shop. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Something between a mix of depression and fear and sadness hit me in that first month of lockdown. I couldn't sleep, I barely ate, and had a feeling that I was useless. If there weren't any shows happening, then what was I supposed to do? I haven't sat still for any length of time in over 20 years. My daughter, on the other hand, was happy to have us home full time for the first time in her life. You see, my husband is also a theater professional. All his gigs got canceled too. 2 national tours, an international trip, and local events. He hadn't sat still for any length of time in over 25 years. Then I got a sewing machine, and my knitting needles have been gathering dust ever since. Sewing takes focus. It takes talent, and it's just like putting together a 3D puzzle that you get to wear. I made skirts, dresses, shorts, leggings. I even tried making underwear. Once again, I felt useful. Our spring went by with nightly 7 o'clock bell ringing and my weekly foray into the office to get some work done and walks. Once a week, we would venture out to see Mum and have a giggle through the glass. We'd WhatsApp with my brother in England and his family. For those brief moments, we were all together again. The miles weren't as long, and I could see the joy in everyone's eyes. We talked about doing a family reunion in Barbados when things got better. And then George Floyd was murdered, and the world shook its head and demanded change. Not just Black people. People demanded change. I had a new project. I started working on a piece to educate the young, to give context on what the past had done to Black people, what is happening now, and what the future could be. Work started picking up again. I had to make the building safe to work in. Clear pathways around the building were implemented, signage was put up, and gallons of sanitizer was procured. We pivoted a part of the company to be a co-op for artists. The artists could come and volunteer their time, and in exchange, they could have studio time and theater time. When the restrictions relaxed, they could perform again under guidelines and safety protocols that had to be in place. I was really useful again. Then the summer hit, and my daughter could play outside with her best friend. My best friend and I could sit and sew together, and I started realizing that my immediate friends, work and home family, were all I needed. Not that I was a huge social butterfly before. I mean, I did all of that in my 20s, and I'm quite content to be a homebody. And then the world made me hold my breath again. An outbreak was declared at my mother's care home. I now got daily updates on the status of the outbreak. Within days, the number went from 1 staff to 15 residents, and then the ultimate sacrifice, a death. Naturally, windows visits had ceased, and residents were not allowed out of their rooms anymore. They were in true lockdown. Daily Skype calls to my mother saw her in good spirits. She was laughing more, singing more, and except for one day, she was super alert. July 1st, Happy Canada Day! A bittersweet day, as I was supposed to be working on a show with some teens down on Granville Island, and it was due to be our second day of rehearsal. This was the thought that greeted me as I woke. Our little family decided to take in the sunshine and go for a walk later, but first, the relaxation of a day off. My phone rang, and it was a healthcare worker who couldn't pronounce my name properly and was stumped by my mother's. Her daily test had come back presumptive. The team at Holy Family were amazing. They were empathetic and brave. I knew they were tired, frightened, and sad. I could hear it in their voices. Bernadette called to tell me that Mom's prognosis wasn't good, that things may happen quickly. We had our usual Skype call that day and the day after, and she was fine, laughing and wondering what all the fuss was about. Bernadette called to say that she couldn't find the name of the funeral home we had arranged for her in her records. I got the name of a cremation service that was recommended and called. They were gentle, kind, and understanding. Just call when it happens. We've got your name and hers, and we'll take care of it. No, you don't have to give us any money right now. Yeah, we'll help you with the paperwork. My daughter decided that this is the time she wants to use the sewing machine. I need to help her, and her room is a sight. It needs to be cleaned for sure. When did the bathtub get cleaned last? How is it that I'm the only one that sees these things? I just sneezed. Lord, is it just a sneeze? Yes, it's just a sneeze. My coworker has a sore throat and is going to be tested. Negative. My husband has woken up with a sore throat. Oh God. I sleep on the sofa. We avoid each other and wear masks in our tiny apartment. I need to make sure that I don't even think that I'm sick, otherwise there's no way that I'll be able to go and see Mom when she needs me. He's tested. We wait and wait. Negative. I still sleep on the sofa. I can't get a cold either. I get the call. Come, it won't be long now. My friend has lent me his car, so I get in and drive. My heart pounding the whole way. Not today, Mom. Not today. I chanted repeatedly in my head. The same route we took in January together. The same route I took each Sunday after church. Not today, Mom. Not today. Just give me one more day. I get there, and a field hospital has been set up outside. I answer a barrage of health questions, and I have my temperature checked. I put on my mask and leave everything except my Bible and my phone outside in a plastic bag. I walk up to the entrance, and I'm greeted by another nurse who instructs me on how to don my gown and gloves. I'm escorted to my mother's room, being reminded the whole time not to get too close and not to take off my mask and shield for any reason. There are things I notice immediately. The old Chinese lady who always sat at the front door is gone. I hope she's okay. There is no laughter. The nurses behind the desk look harried. There's new people there, faces I don't recognize. I look over in the lounge and there's a healthcare practitioner talking on the phone. Yes, we're getting it organized. Yes, we need more of. I don't hear the rest as my heart is pounding so loudly in my ears. What will she look like? Will she be awake? Is she in pain? A red dot is beside my mother's name on her door. I wish it was like the lamb's blood that the Jews in the ancient times put on their door for Passover, but I knew it wasn't for that. She was marked. She's in her bed, and her body is tense. She's awake, and she sees me and knows me. I try to hold her hand, but it's clenched so tightly, and she won't or can't open it. She's afraid. I can see it in her eyes, and when she looks at me, I pry open one of them and I hold her hand. I talk to her, I read her passages from the Bible, and while she sleeps, I call our Reverend to arrange her last rites. She wakes, and I call my brother so he can talk to her one more time. She looks at me and says, "Don't let me fall." Those words are forever etched in my soul. I promise her I won't. Our Reverend comes by. She's not allowed in the building, so she places the oil on a bench outside and steps back. I pick it up, regown, and go back inside. We have a virtual service. Reverend Sharon sits in her car, and I hold the phone and anoint my mother. I think my mom is calmer after that. I stay for as long as I can. I go to work the next day, and the next, and the next. We have our family Skype visit on Friday, but she won't wake up. I recall us talking away as though she was a part of the conversation, just talking away, asking questions and waiting for a reply that we know she won't answer. We talk around her, over her, like grown-ups do when children are in the room at a dinner party. Her doctor calls to say that it may be a good idea to stop dialysis. It was doing more harm than good. It's hurting her. Saturday, and I can rest for a minute. My daughter crawls into the bed with me, and I know I have to tell her that Gran isn't going to get better. The phone rings again. If you want to say goodbye, come now. She is unresponsive. I drive again without the same chant in my head, just sadness in my heart. They'd moved her. She finally got that semi-private room she wanted. She just lay there. She didn't acknowledge me, the nurses, or the doctors. I sang to her, read to her, and then I knew I had to let her go. I went out onto the sidewalk and cried, and I let out a howl that I didn't know I was capable of. It came from deep within me, and it shook me to the core. I was alone. I never felt so alone. I went back in, and I told her that it was okay to go. I knew it was better that way. I left that afternoon, knowing that the next call I would receive would be the last one. It came in the middle of the night. She was gone. My friends rallied around me. I called her friends and the rest of my family. I called the banks, the government. I had to tick communicable disease box on the death form. I cleaned the apartments until my hands were raw. I sewed. I had a drink or two, and then I went back to work. My safe place. She was cremated, as she wanted. We arranged a virtual service with 10 people in attendance in a place that she loved. A place where she laughed and played and met with friends. Life went on. School was about to start. I had many a sleepless night about what to do about that. I'm lucky that I work in a place where she could have come to work with me every day, and it wouldn't have been a problem, but what sort of a life is that for her? My anxiety since my mom's passing has gone through the roof. My usual awareness of the people around me has been heightened to an extent of near paranoia. I expressed to my girl the need to wash her hands and wear her mask. I was not about to lose her too. I didn't say that, but she heard me loud and clear. She went back to school, and she's learning and thriving. The theater's still going. The hub took off, and the artists came, and the building became busy with activity. Audiences came back. I don't think I've ever been so nervous to welcome the public into the building. Their safety was in my hands. Our plans were working. People felt safe and were safe, and my grief was waning. Then my brother's wife called. My brother had been hospitalized with COVID pneumonia. I WhatsApped him. There he was with an oxygen mask on and unable to get past 2 words without a deep, watery breath. I prayed so very hard. A couple of days went by and he had turned the corner for the better. His prognosis was good and he needed to rest and self-isolate. He's on the mend now and has health issues he didn't have before. My anxiety went up again and the insomnia came back. Not as bad as it was before, but it raised its ugly head. My experience with COVID isn't singular. The thousands of families all over the country, the millions of families who have lost someone to this deadly, non-discriminatory virus are in the same boat as me. I'm not sure how to close this story, as right now there is no closure. The numbers are increasing. There have been 2 exposures at my daughter's school. No social gatherings are permitted, and live theater has been asked to close once again, while bars and restaurants can remain open. The logic there fails me. However, we must bring this upward curve back down again. We did it once, and we can do it again. Failure is not an option.